Hi everybody, I'm back. Okay. I'm talking about movies. So I think I'm going to talk about The Matrix because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's incredible. And the thing I like about The Matrix, it's an action movie, right? Like, and the funny part is there's no action in it for the first, like, half of the movie. There's not a punch thrown or anything. There's, a little bit of weird stuff happening, but there's no action, like no real. And then all of a sudden, bam, you get to the Neo training, getting trained by Morpheus, and that's the first fight scene. Like, it's amazing how the thing that makes that movie so phenomenal. It's not the martial arts. It's not all that stuff. It's not the story. It's the pacing of the movie is like you find a lot of movies that you'll watch, and the pacing is very jarring with a lot of movies. And if you have a really great story and great everything, but the pacing is really off, it's gonna leave just like this. You're not even going to be able to put your finger on it, but you're just going to feel like you got a sour taste from the movie, and you're not going to know why. But The Matrix has one of the best pacings of any movie I've ever seen. It gradually builds up so nicely, and when Neo fights Agent Smith at the end, like, that's why you're so pumped up. It's because they held your hand and basically led you down this road. Like, it just kept going and going and going, and then bam, they don't have to hold your hand anymore. It's on. Love that movie. It's great because every geek loves that movie. I'm a big geek too. Just because it's a fantasy to wake up one day and have somebody tell you, you're an amazing guy. You get to come in and do all this cool stuff and learn all this training and become like a super cool, whatchamacallit, whatever the hell he is, the savior, the one. Of course, he's just it's a quick way just to have a Christ figure, really, but I like his character. Like, it's Keanu Reeves fits it too for whatever reason. Don't ask me why. Keanu Reeves is kind of a weird fella. He's kind of got his own little niche in Hollywood, as weird as that is. You know what I mean? There's so many really good actors out there struggling and can't make it, and he's just a guy that, I don't know, he almost looks like he doesn't want to participate half the time. Strangely enough, he's had a couple of really good parts, but I don't know, it's just a strange guy. I don't know, but he's perfect for Neo. Like, I don't know why. He fit just perfectly. So anyway, he's like Christ figure. Morpheus is the Greek god of dreams, and he shows them the difference between the dream world and the real world. So there's basically a big duality thing, right? Another movie that I think did really well on that is Blade. Blade is probably, I don't know if I like it as much as The Matrix, but it's really close. Sometimes it is more than The Matrix, because it's very, very, very similar. It came out the year before, and they say The Matrix was like a big hodgepodge effort. Like, they just put all this cool stuff in. They drew from Japanese anime. Ghost in the Shell was their big. They say that was their big influence, but I am pretty sure that Blade influenced them more, even though it only came out a year earlier. I don't know if they were starting to do production and then they saw Blade and they went, wait a second, because there's a lot of similarities between these two movies. Like, not just even like physically. Like, Blade wears dark leather, has sunglasses just like they do, and there's two realities just like in that movie. I mean, even the color schemes, they use a lot of, in Blade they use a lot of blues for when it's I think it's a blue. They use one color during the day, one color during night, and they do the same thing for the color schemes in the Matrix. There's a lot of black and a lot of red and a lot of blue. And the same thing with Matrix too, and there's green in the Matrix. There's some green in Blade, but not as much. But it's just funny that their color scheme is very similar. That, and when Deacon Frost has this little girl hostage, he pulls out his gun, or Blade pulls out his gun and starts firing, and you see 3 bullets, and then Deacon dodges them. So it's like a little bit like bullet time. It's really crazy. And there's a lot of martial arts, of course, in the movie. A lot of the scenes are. When the police officers come in at one point in Blade, it really reminds me of The Matrix because the cops look the same. It was really cool. Yeah, it's a really, Blade is just phenomenal. I love it. And they're both almost very bland main characters because they don't really have their own lives. They're basically just the superhero, right? Because Blade doesn't have an alternate. He doesn't have a disguise during the day. He's always Blade. And the same thing with Neo. He doesn't want to go back to Thomas Anderson. Thomas Anderson is dead. Like, he doesn't care. Would you want to go back to your normal life if you were awakened? And it's funny too because both movies are very similar if you consider them in like context and all that shit. Like, everything is very similar paths, but you don't think of one when you're watching the other. Like, I watched Blade and then I watched The Matrix, and one didn't remind me of the other. So it kind of shows you how good films they are, because you would almost swear that one copied the other, but they're good enough that you don't think about, you don't cross-reference them. Like, I didn't even, it's like years and years later I finally noticed, ooh, hey, they're kind of similar. And they're very similar movies. Yeah, and not just, like I said, not just even on the action level. The action level, The Matrix just revolutionized everything. When that movie came out, it basically was one of the biggest movies to come out in a very long time, like extremely long time. Everybody and their dog had to have a piece of that movie. There was so many commercials, and like, where Neo does the backwards flip and gets out of the way of the subway when Smith gets hit. There was commercials that were doing that flip, and it was crazy. And then movies, like comedies, were coming out and mocking the well, not mocking, but doing the backwards thing, like, and it just, everybody had to get their hands on that. Like, it was the hottest thing since, and the cool part was no one saw it coming. It wasn't like Lord of the Rings, where everyone was so pumped up to see it and it came out and just blew everybody away anyway. This was a movie that just basically came out of left field. Like, I remember seeing previews for it going, I don't know, it just looks like a standard action movie. It didn't really do anything for me at all. I was like, I don't know, it's just, what is it? I wasn't even curious. I didn't even care what The Matrix was. I didn't want to find out. When I saw it in the theater for the first time, I didn't really get it. I was kind of at a harder point in my life where I wasn't really, I was just having a lot of panic attacks, really, so I didn't really notice this, the context and all that shit. But now that I'm a little bit, more stable, everything's cool. So yeah, it's an excellent movie, and the fighting in it is great too. Like, I like the sounds. The sounds are probably the best. It's just when the fists are hitting people's heads and stuff and hitting them in the chest. It makes such great impact sounds. I just love it. And the kung fu thing's been done a trillion times over, but The Matrix kind of did it in a way that was just unheard of. No one had ever seen this. Plus, there's the slow motion and the bullet time, and it was a great movie. And then when he, like I said, when he fights Agent Smith, man, I get like half erection every time. It's such a pumped up moment. You know what I mean? Because Neo's been chased and told different things and lied to, and finally, Smith confronts him, and he doesn't want to run anymore, and he says, "Nope, I'm going to fight him." And then everyone kind of goes, "Ooh, he's getting it now. He's the one." And then he fights Smith, and he wins. Ironically enough, he wins the one fight, but then, of course, Smith just kind of goes, "Oh, I'll grab another body, and you're fucking dead." So it's like a kind of a short-lived victory. So anyway, he's like, yeah, Christ figure. He comes back, he dies, comes back, and like the Oracle said, you were waiting for, you got the gift, but I don't know what you're waiting for. Maybe you're waiting for your next lifetime. So basically, Neo had to die to become the one, or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, just great movie. I'm droning on here. I'm just trying to keep myself alive here in my own voice. Just haven't slept in a long time. Dead on my feet. Anyway, good times.